Welcome to ESPN2's College Football Primetime, part of the SEC on ESPN. We're at Bryant-Denny Stadium for this pivotal game between a couple of the best in the SEC West Division. Alabama, number 12, taking on 19, Mississippi State. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie. Bob, let's take a look at some of the headlines, starting with the Crimson Tide.
Well, Mississippi State has quietly won 6 in a row by following a simple plan. Run the ball, don't turn it over, and don't put your defense in a bad situation. They might not be flashy to the average fan, but they are 7-2 and bowl eligible for only the second time in 10 years. For Alabama, they started the season #1 in the coaches poll. When they beat Florida on October 2nd, everyone in the country thought they were by far the best team in the country. Since then, they're 2-2. Mark, how do they react tonight with their goal of national title gone?
They have won 18 consecutive games here at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Bell was diagnosed
and
with
there are some heavy hearts
early
tonight.
October.
Coaches, players, and fans from both teams.
At this time, we ask that you join the SEC family as we honor the memory of Mississippi State's Nick Bell. Thank you.
Well, the commemorative gesture proving that the college football fraternity is a very close-knit one, and the relationships on the field and off the field transcend the sport itself. Nick Bell.
The Rose, Fiesta, Orange, Sugar, and the Tostitos BCS National Championship game. ESPN, the BCS lives here.
Welcome back, everyone, to Bryant-Denny Stadium for this game between Mississippi State and Alabama. Crimson Tide winners last year against Mississippi State 31-3. Let's take a look first now at the SEC's East Division standings. Big game going on the family of networks right now between South Carolina and Florida. The winner, in all likelihood, advancing to the SEC title game. Meanwhile, Mississippi State, a great season at 3-2, 7-2 overall. Alabama, 4-2 in league play, 7-2 overall as well. Hello, everybody. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie. Thanks for coming aboard. A great atmosphere here tonight, Bob, at Bryant-Denny Stadium. You look at the two different sidelines, 7-2 on one side, 7-2 on the other, but I guess all 7-2s aren't created equally.
Well, if you've been around Tuscaloosa, as we have the last couple days, it's obvious the expectations around here are off the charts. I think Greg McElroy, their quarterback, put it in perspective this week when they asked, how's the mood around here? He said it feels like the end of the world in Tuscaloosa. But what Nick Saban wants, he wants the team to forget about the big picture goals. Just play up to the standard of Alabama. It doesn't matter if Auburn wins or loses that game that's going on right now to Georgia. It doesn't matter about conference championships. Just play up to the standard that's been set around here.
Crimson Tide have lost 2 of their last 4 games, so Nick Saban trying to deal and gauge the emotions and the competitiveness of his team. Meanwhile, Dan Mullen, boy, what a storybook season it's been for him. 5 wins a season ago, already at 7 wins this year, 2 down, and a realistic shot in the SEC West. 11-9 overall. Mississippi State winning the toss, deferring to the second half. Alabama will receive the opening kickoff. Trent Richardson, one of their better kick returners, questionable for the game today. He was down on the field earlier warming up.
And he normally, Mark, is the kickoff return man. He is not back there, but Number 8, Julio Jones, and Marquise Mays. These are two explosive returners.
Julio Jones competing with that broken hand. But such is the season for Alabama. Still with a lot to accomplish. And we're underway. It'll be Mays at the 12. Marquise Mays brought down at about the 23-yard line. An 11-yard return on the kickoff. And that's where Greg McElroy, the 6'3" senior, will take the reins of this Alabama offense. He's completing about 69% of his passes on the season. 13 touchdown tosses versus just 4 interceptions. A senior out of South Lake Carroll, Texas. A storied program they have down there. First down and 10 for the Crimson Tide. They come in an empty formation to start the game off. Out of the shotgun. The pass is caught to Julio Jones at the 30-yard line. Let's take a look at our impact player. It's brought to you by Liberty Mutual. Bob?
Well, some weeks it's easier to identify the impact players. For Alabama, it's obvious. In the run game, last year's Heisman Trophy winner. In the pass game, Julio Jones. And Alabama right now, no huddle, which is a little bit different for them.
Mark Ingram gets the first down at the 35. Bob, we talked all day yesterday about how nice it was to get back to a little more traditional football for Alabama.
Well, and Nick Saban talked about how difficult it is to prepare for a no-huddle, up-tempo offense like Mississippi State. Give them a little dose of their own weapon right here.
First down and 10. Pass complete for the 38. That's Marquise Mays. Made a nice move, and it looks like he got enough for another first down right around the 45-yard line. And Alabama moving quickly on offense. Good hand walk by Mays. Here's a look at the rest of that Alabama offensive unit.
And you look, Mark Ingram going to have to carry the load tonight with Trent Richardson probably out for the football game.
Out of the shotgun, they hand it off to Ingram, found a nice burst and a good hole. Ingram with a first down close to the 40-yard line. Stopped just shy at the 41. A 12-yard burst by Mark Ingram, the reigning Heisman winner.
I think the thing you're going to see right off the bat, he gets a good hole, but right here, just how explosive and powerful he is. Met with him yesterday, a lot stockier than what you might think.
Complete, and Alabama on the move. The tight end Michael Williams gets the reception from Greg McElroy, and quickly in a blink 15 more yards, and they're down right near the 25-yard line.
I think this is a great move by Alabama and Nick Saban. If you were in any kind of funk coming off that LSU loss, you don't have time to think about it. It's up-tempo all the way, and I think a great move.
Aggressive mindset. Ingram stopped up by Fletcher Cox. Fletcher Cox, one of those guys up front for Mississippi State defensively. There's a look at the rest of the unit.
And probably the most improved player in the SEC, Chris White, the inside linebacker.
McElroy complete underneath. Marquise Mays with another couple nice moves inside the 20 to about the 18. He picks up 8 on the play.
Greg McElroy, the perfect quarterback for this no-huddle attack with the experience he has.
On 3rd and 2. Ingram keeps the legs moving, but nowhere to go. He's stoned short of that first down. And it's going to be 4th down coming up. Bob, you really like the tempo that Alabama's come out with here. Do they stay aggressive, maybe thinking about going for it here? Or?
Yeah, you know, first of all, I love that tackle right there by Emmanuel Gatling. Looks like Nick's going to go ahead with the field goal.
And Jeremy Shelley will come in to attempt this field goal for Alabama. Being from about 36 yards out. Shelley 8 of 11 on the season. And he knocks it through. So Nick Saban comes out with a little change of pace to begin the game offensively. And the Crimson Tide take advantage, going up by a field goal when we come back.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by Fidelity Investments. Turn here.
Welcome back, everyone. You're watching the SEC on ESPN. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie here at Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. The Crimson Tide leading 3-0 after that 9-play drive. Using up a little over 3 minutes on the clock. Nick Saban changing pace a little bit. Right now, Dan Mullen's team getting set to receive the football. McElroy, the quarterback, was 4 of 4. Pretty impressive on that opening drive.
And pretty indicative of Mississippi State's defense. You know, total defense, none of the statistics, they're ranked real high, but scoring defense, Mississippi State is 9th in the country. They bend, but they don't break. And hold Alabama to a field goal right there was key.
There's going to be Bumpus from the 5. Chad Bumpus. He's one of their big playmakers, but he's pushed out of bounds at the 18-yard line. That's when it'll be 1st down and 10 for Mississippi State's quarterback, Chris Burrell. He's a 6'4", 240-pound junior. Big fella back there. He's completing 53% of his passes. Has just 7 touchdown passes on the season versus only 3 interceptions.
All about running the football for Mississippi State. And one thing to watch, they're going to go quick tempo tonight. The official stop play right there. But Mark, Alabama does a lot of things on defense. Nick Saban is a complex defensive coordinator. They were a little bit late getting lined up at times. They had some bust against LSU. Watch for Mississippi State to get up there and snap that ball quickly out of this no huddle.
Ralph hands it off. They come right up the middle. Out to the 27-yard line. That's Vic Ballard with a nice gain. Let's take a look at the Liberty Mutual impact plays.
We're going to do it quick because they're going to get up on that line of scrimmage quick. But Vic Ballard, he's a lot like this Mississippi State offense. Not flashy, not explosive, but physical.
And Ralph keeps it himself.
And that's what you're going to see right there. In the passing game, Chad Bumpus, look for him to touch the football tonight. On defense for Alabama, Dante Hightower, number 30. You see him right there. But expect a lot of this fast pace right now for Mississippi State.
Dan Mullen trying to get his offense in gear. Ralph throws it complete. That's Ballard. And Ballard out to the 48-yard line. So, Bob, Mississippi State, this is their game offensively. This is their tempo.
Well, it's run, it's play action. They're no huddle, but normally they take a lot of time at the line of scrimmage. This game, you can see Dan Mullen get it going because he thinks Alabama, as complicated as they are, sometimes is late getting lined up trying to get all those checks.
Ralph a little bit discombobulated and disconcerted back there. Brought down at the 47-yard line by Daquan Nenzi.
Well, you're going to see Alabama with 5 defensive backs nickel on the field. Daquan Nenzi, he is the nickel back, so he's in a position where he can blitz a lot, also play coverage. But this is a 5 defensive back game for Alabama against this spread look.
Evans in motion to the top of your screen. Ralph is going to take off himself. Nice move down to the 46-yard line for the junior quarterback. Picks up 7 on the play.
The great equalizer, quarterback runs. You know, Nick Saban, an NFL coach, NFL defensive coordinator, it doesn't matter what level of football you're at. When your quarterback carries the ball, that is the equalizer because you can't get extra guys.
3rd and 5. Ralph keeps it and gets the 1st down. Depending on the spot, but it looks like he's got enough for the 1st down. Ralph is the 2nd leading rusher on the team.
Mark, this is the play of the year in college football. Fake a sweep. The quarterback on the north-south play with the backside guard or tackle pulling. That little quarterback counter off a sweep action. without a doubt, is in vogue across the country.
I've seen it so much I could draw it up for you, okay?
But Mississippi State, a lot of what you call gap blocking down with great angles, pulling backside linemen, creating seams. And when that quarterback's as big and strong as Ralph, that's a challenge for this Alabama defense. I mean, look at this kid. He looks like a linebacker.
Looks a little winded already, too.
Well, he carries the ball about 14 times a game. He throws the ball about 14 times a game. It is Vic Ballard and it is Ralph that are going to touch this football all night long for Mississippi State.
They get the first down. They go with a couple of backs here. Elliott and Ballard beside the quarterback, Ralph. Handoff with not much room to go anywhere for Vic Ballard from Pascagoula High School. Former junior college player who probably was overlooked coming out of college, coming out of high school. Took the junior college route and has made the most of his opportunity at Mississippi State.
Coaches tell me Vic Ballard is quiet, doesn't say a word. Chris Ralph, the quarterback's the same way. So there's not going to be a lot of talking on that field for Mississippi State.
Trying to talk with his arm out here. Ralph into traffic and picked off. Robert Lester with the interception.
Well, there's the dilemma Dan Mullen has. He feels like he has a good matchup against Alabama's young secondary. But the problem is they are not very efficient throwing the football, and it's all about poor decisions in the pass game for Chris Ralph. And that time he just laid one up. You can see Dan right there. Ralph has talent. He has ability. He makes poor decisions in the passing game.
And for Lester on the other side, Bob, that's his 6th interception of the season. Alabama secondary coming up with a big play. First down and 10 coming back the other way now at their own 6-yard line. McElroy was perfect on that last drive, 4 for 4. Hands it off this time to Mark Ingram. And he's stopped up by Chris White, at linebacker number 50, who we'll be talking about a lot tonight for the Bulldogs defensively.
I mentioned, I think the most improved player in the Southeastern Conference. They moved him from outside linebacker to the middle linebacker position. He's not only a good linebacker, he's a good blitzer. You know, Manny Diaz brings him a lot on linebacker blitzes.
2nd and 9. McElroy incomplete. And there's a flag on the play. Pernell McPhee with the pressure on McElroy.
Well, the rule, if that's going to be intentional grounding in the end zone, that's a safety.
Eligible receiver in the area was capable of taking the pass. There is no foul. The pass is incomplete.
They're going to pick the flag up.
Pernell McPhee, you're going to see him at the top. He's the best pass rusher for Mississippi State. Now, he doesn't have a sack on the season, but he just beats Alfred McCullough, the big right offensive tackle. I tell you, I noticed McPhee. When you watch the tape, he may not be officially credited with a sack, but he is an NFL prospect from Pahokee, Florida. Been a few players out of Pahokee, too, now.
Running on that black mud up there. Described as the heartbeat of that defensive line. 3rd down now for Alabama. McElroy completes it, and now it's incomplete, or maybe it's a fumble. Let's wait for the ruling. They're saying incomplete. It appeared as if Darius Hanks made the catch and took a step. They're going to rule it incomplete.
Yeah, this is an excellent route by Alabama, kind of a 3-level route. Hanks is wide open. Yeah, that's an incomplete pass. Damian Anderson, a backup cornerback, came in and knocked that football out. That's unfortunate. That was a well-conceived route and really an excellent thrown ball. Should have been a first down, but a big stop for Mississippi State.
Cody Mandel punting now for Alabama. Averaging a little over 40 a punt. And Bumpus calls for the fair catch. Mississippi State is going to have great starting field position on their second drive of the game after the 32-yard punt. Can the Bulldogs put points on it as a result?
Yeah.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by Faster, starring Dwayne Johnson, in theaters November the 24th.
People
And
outside
Lexus,
this conference.
This is the pursuit of tomorrow. This is the pursuit of perfection. And welcome back, everyone, to Bryant-Denny Stadium. Mississippi State with the ball, 1st and 10 from the 39-yard line. Now look at some of the wonderful scenes on this beautiful campus.
Well, Chris Ralph and the Mississippi State offense survived that turnover. They get the football back basically where they had it before the turnover.
Ralph on the pitch. And Ballard takes it forward and is stopped up at about the 35-yard line. Picks up 5 on the play.
See, when you play Mississippi State, you're really playing a 3-back offense. Bearing the safety. One thing Nick Saban always does, those safeties are going to be involved heavily in the run game, which they have to be against this kind of offense.
Hand it off to Perkins with his first touch. And Perkins picks up a first down for the Bulldogs deep in Alabama territory. Ladarius Perkins picks up 20 on the play.
This was a well-designed play. Watch the backside running back become the lead blocker off a little bit of a counter action. That is a very well-designed play with Vic Ballard as the lead blocker.
There's Ballard again, weaving his way through traffic. Check that. That's Ladarius Perkins again. Down to the 11-yard line. This game, Bob, a game of tempo.
Game of tempo in Mississippi State with a unorthodox, very similar to Auburn style of run game.
Ralph hands it off. Ballard down at the 10-yard line. Only got a yard on that play, so it'll be 3rd down coming up for Mississippi State.
Probably good. You see Mississippi State right here slowing that tempo down just a little bit. This is a big 3rd down and 6. You want to make sure if you're Dan Mullen, get a field goal here. Do not turn this football over.
Hand it off and goes straight ahead. Hard running by Ballard, and he was met by a couple of tacklers at the 7-yard line. Barron finally made the stop.
Well, Mark Barron,
3.
The only starter back in that secondary. He is their #1 tackler on this football team. Very good conservative call by Dan Mullen right there. Take the field goal. Don't ask Chris Ralph to make a play on 3rd and obviously passing down.
Now they're going to try a field goal. It's Derek DePasquale, this one from 24 yards out. He's 6 of 7 on the season. Make that 7 of 8, and we are knotted at 3 apiece. Well, both these teams today, and coaching staffs and fans, respectively, with heavy hearts. This stadium and beyond rife with pointed emotions. This was the scene pregame. Charles Mitchell.
All about 3-6 tonight, baby. My boy Nick Bell, we're gonna hold it down for you tonight, baby. Don't get shot from my boy Nick Bell, baby. I'm doing it for him.
First one was Charles Mitchell, Nick Bell's roommate, and Marcel Darius, his best friend, Bob Davie. Bell passing away last Tuesday. Coming into the game, if you're Dan Mullen, the head coach of Mississippi State, there's no playbook to handle a situation like this. What do you do?
Yeah, Nick, in fact, Dan talked to me, called me early this week for advice, and I gave him the same advice I'm giving myself right now. The only thing I care about right now is how Nick Bell's mother perceives how we handle it and how we honor Nick Bell. You know, those players lost a great teammate. Those coaches lost a great player. Mississippi State community lost a great young man. But that mother's loss is much, much greater. So how does Nick Bell's mom want us to handle it and show respect for him? And I'll finish what Dan Mullen did and what Nick Bell's mother did before this football game to tie this thing together.
There's no exact blueprint for it all. Both teams paying their respects. Here's Mays on the kickoff return. And Marquise Mays stopped up at the 28-yard line. It'll be first down and 10 for Alabama. And this really sums it up. Nick was a son and a brother to our football family, and I know he'll continue to look over us from heaven. So what exactly did Coach Mullen do here?
Nick's mother, I believe her name is Linda, sent a letter to Dan Mullen's wife. Dan read that letter to the football team of how Nick would have wanted that football team to carry on. Not only that, but Nick Bell's mom met the Mississippi State team tonight at the bus. She is here in this stadium to show how she wants this football team to persevere and carry on. So it's all about how that mother wants that son remembered, and this football team is going to carry on and play on in his honor tonight.
He's a Mississippi State player that was from the state of Alabama. Bessemer just down Highway 59 and Interstate 20, not that far from here. Proves once again that the college football community is a very tight one. Alabama with the football. The second down and 9 coming up. It has been a wave of emotions for Mississippi State since last Tuesday.
In the magnitude of that loss, just to finish it up. I mean, 3 weeks ago, he's a starting defensive end in the Southeastern Conference.
There's Ingram into the boundary on the sweep. And Ingram is brought down just a little bit shy of the 35-yard line by Sean Ferguson. Picked up 4 on the play. Third down and 5.
Mark Ingram now. You talk about a guy's commitment to football. This kid wins the Heisman Trophy last year. 1,600 yards. He has knee surgery on August 31st. He missed 2 games. All he's accomplished, all he has in his future with knee surgery, he's back out here playing at 100%. You have to love Mark Ingram's commitment to the University of Alabama.
McElroy with a little bit of time. And they're going to whistle this play dead. And there's a flag down at the 33.
Prior to the ball being snapped, false start, number 4, the offense, 5-yard penalty, it remains third down.
It's going to go against the Crimson Tide. This is a team that had a lot of high expectations going into the year. Bob, you alluded to it at the start of the show tonight. Ranked number 1 in the preseason polls.
Yeah, a little bit of an injustice. And maybe that's not the right word to use, but when you have your quarterback back, when you have 2 running backs back, and you have Julio Jones back. But you know what? They lost 9 starters on defense. Their kicker, their punter, their kick return man.
That'll do it. McElroy will do it too. The pass complete to Marquise Mays. Mays has been a prominent target here early in the game. Picks up 12 here.
Yeah, Mississippi State, little surprise, such soft coverage right there. You see Jonathan Banks, the sophomore corner, number 13, didn't challenge that throw at all. That was just too easy.
First down and 10 for Alabama. McElroy through a rope, and it's complete at the 46-yard line to Marquise Mays again, going back in the same direction, working against the same guy. A 13-yard gain.
See how balanced Alabama can be. That's the problem. You're Manny Diaz. You would rather have Alabama throw the ball on you rather than let Mark Ingram running down your throat. But McElroy right now putting on a show.
Sure is. He was 4 for 4 on that first drive. A whistle down on the field. Now we got a flag down.
The Mississippi State head coach is challenging the ruling on the field that the ball was caught inbounds.
Dan Mullen was looking. They don't have that red flag like they have in the NFL, but he just threw the challenge. He had a great view of it. I think he's going to lose that challenge, though. That left foot was down. There's Dan right there. That's a bit of wishful thinking, I think. Watch the left foot. I think it was down.
Yeah.
The left foot
was
patted before the right foot. Yeah, that's a catch. Dan Mullen, you look at Dan right here. He's finding out how tough it is to be an official in this major college football now.
He was right there, too.
Look, hey, these guys don't miss many. I mean, there's Dan Mullen right there with a great view of it. It shows you just how good these guys are.
Well, maybe the official was a little closer than Coach Mullen was that time. But, Bob, let's get back to Alabama. Them coming out with this hurry-up offense so far. Here's the call.
After further review, the ruling on the field is confirmed.
Bob, is this pace by Alabama something you figure they sustain throughout the game, or is it just something to get them going early?
I think they'll slow down, but I think it's a great move, as I mentioned. You take away a lot of the thought process. You get your football team excited about playing, coming off that loss to LSU. Just get up there and let it rip.
Here's Ingram. Boy, the Bulldogs string it out nicely and bring him down right around midfield. Great pursuit by Corey Broomfield and Cameron Lawrence.
Yeah, let's look back at this. Obviously won the national championship last year, but you lose 9 players on a defense as complicated and as sophisticated as Nick Saban's. I don't think you should be ranked the #1 team, but in defense of them, when I put that South Carolina tape on, they lost in Columbia, and I put that tape on against Baton Rouge last week, this is really a good football team, Alabama. I mean, they lost to 2 really good teams.
A good quarterback, too, and a great receiver in Julio Jones. You hear the fans cascading, "Whoo!" down on him. Stop made by Charles Mitchell after the gain of 23.
Amazing story here. All the ability he has playing with a plate and screws in his left hand. Nick Saban said, the hardest worker I've ever had. We talked about Julio Jones.
And that time it's Ingram brought down behind the line of scrimmage. And, you know, you talked about Ingram and him being nicked up and still putting out. Julio Jones, as you mentioned, playing with the pins and screws.
Yeah, and I look right here. I don't mean to cut you off. That's not a good sign. Trent Richardson out of the football game. Mark Ingram limping off right here. Eddie Lacy, 42, probably the next guy in the game.
Second and 12 coming up for Alabama. Eddie Lacy, the lone back. 2 tight ends and 2 wideouts. McElroy overshoots his receiver. Had his tight end Michael Williams open on the play, but threw it behind him. And it's 3rd and long coming up. Mark Ingram on the sidelines after this play. A couple plays ago, he looked like he was limping going into the hit.
And when you see him put that football down right there to kind of brace his fall, that's his mom down from Flint, Michigan. He looked hurt to me. I mean, when he put that football down to kind of brace his fall.
And now he's come back in. Always never lacked for courage. Good block to give McElroy a little bit of time, too. And McElroy is going to be pushed out of bounds right around the 30 by Chris White, who's all over the field tonight for the Bulldogs. A gain of 1 on the play.
Yeah, I mentioned, just watching on tape, this kid has come out of nowhere for Mississippi State. Blitzes sideline to sideline. Watch the effort by Chris White right here. #2 tackler in the Southeastern Conference. Amazing how just moving a guy from outside to inside, he's a much better player.
Now Cade Foster comes in to attempt this field goal from 45 yards away. And that is true. With a lot of room to spare, Alabama takes a 3-point lead, 6-3. A couple of 7-2 teams going head-to-head when we come back. And welcome back, everyone, to Tuscaloosa, Alabama on a beautiful mid-November night. Look at Campus Drive and 12th Avenue. I'll tell you one thing about Davey. Dreamland isn't close to that intersection. I got to sniff that place out. I can find
You
it
know,
a little bit
people
later.
outside this conference get tired of people that do these games in the conference talking about the atmospheres in these towns and in these stadiums. But I got to tell you, this is my first game, actually doing a game here at Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Unbelievable setting.
Very unique. Bumpus on the return from the 3. He throws a tire and falls at the 16-yard line. History abounds here in Tuscaloosa, and the common thread is football. The late legendary Bear Bryant, the national championships. You find houndstooth everywhere, even on the uniforms that the players wear. I should have worn my houndstooth hat, Bob. You know I got a few brims. Vic Ballard in the backfield. This is Ralph carrying it. And he gains about 2 on the play. 2nd down and 8. Mississippi State coming in at 7-2. They're 3-2 in conference play. A couple of big wins to break a couple of long losing streaks earlier this year against Georgia and Florida. 2nd and 7. And Ballard gets the call. Gains a couple more, maybe 3 on the play. 3rd and about 5 coming up.
Well, Mississippi State, just talking to Dan Mullen, their advantage all year has been their offensive line. They don't feel like they have an advantage over this over this Alabama defensive line.
And that's the end of the first quarter of play. It's the type of game that's being decided perhaps in the trenches. Talk about the lines. 6 a.m. tip at Monmouth.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out those pregame meals, what time they're having those pregame meals. Interesting call right here from Mississippi State. Don't be surprised if they don't run this football on 3rd down and 4.
Ralph, little bootleg, breaks 1 tackle and completes it at the 23-yard line to Arcito Clark. And they pick up with the 1st down. Good play by Ralph.
Yeah, Dan Mullen talked about what they're going to do. They're going to scheme Alabama in the run game. In other words, depending on what Alabama lines up in, they're going to run different plays. But in the pass game, they don't care what Alabama's in. They're only going to throw what Chris Ralph is comfortable throwing.
Perkins in the backfield beside Ralph. And he gets the handoff right at the line of scrimmage where he's brought down. Let's check in with Wendy for the first time in the studio.
Mark, thank you very much. It's a Taco Bell studio update. And believe it or not, Oregon has yet to score in this game. But Cal has 4-0 at home so far, and they lead thanks to Shane Vereen 7-0 over the Oregon Ducks.
Okay, Wendy back here. Ralph completes it. Out to the 40-yard line. Chris Smith with the gain of about 7 on the play. Mark Jones along with Bob Davie. And here's what's happening now from Bryant-Denny Stadium. Mississippi State riding a hot 6-game winning streak coming off a bye week. We'll talk a little bit later on Davy Jones-Walker, who has the Heisman vote. And speaking of bye weeks, how much does it help or how much doesn't it help? We'll talk about that as Ralph keeps it himself. There's a flag down on the play. Luther Davis making the stop on the play, but there's a flag down at the 41-yard line. Bob, you worked with Dan Mullen before. How do you assess his strengths as a coach?
First thing, he's really smart.
Illegal formation on the offense.
He's a guy that thinks outside the box. He's very creative. And I think he's matched up with Manny Diaz right now, who is exactly the same way as a defensive coordinator. But he's a smart guy from the state of New Hampshire. He and Chip Kelly, of all things, from New Hampshire. Not many big-time Manchester, New Hampshire guys out there coaching.
We got to get research on that one.
I'll tell you, that was a Tough call right there because Chris Ralph right now always a threat to run the football out of empty. Look for Alabama to keep a bunch of guys in that box to keep him from running. Here they come.
Little movement on the left side of that offensive line. Gabe Jackson, number 61, came out of his stance a little bit early.
Yeah, this is not Mississippi State's strength.
Prior to the snap, false start. Offense number 61.
You're talking about 3rd and long deals?
No question. And that's why that penalty was so big, because they had it in a 3rd and potential run situation. I think this will be a conservative call. They've not turned the ball over on offense in the last 4 games.
3rd and 12.
That's a
They're going to get a free one here.
No, they blew the whistle.
Oh, the whistle. That was Marcel Darius at the top of the screen that came over the line of scrimmage, so they give the yardage back.
Somebody's getting a little laugh out of that right there.
Prior to the snap, offside, 57 of the defense, unabated to the quarterback. 5-yard penalty.
Marcel Darius.
3rd down.
No, Alabama coaches talked yesterday. I mean, this guy right now, number 2 on ESPN's draft board. You know, last year, you're going to see him up here at the top.
That's early.
That's early. But he was really a backup. Only started 2 games. Now, because he has to play every down, that's really hurt him. They would love to rotate some guys in there, give him a break.
Ralph passing. Knocked down at the line of scrimmage at the 35 by Mosley. C.J. Mosley. One of the good surprises defensively for Alabama this season, causing a punting situation here now for the Bulldogs.
True freshman. C.J. Mosley had an interception against Florida. And he starts in nickel. That's why C.J. Mosley's in there as one of those nickel linebackers.
Marquise Mays is back standing on his own 20. Hutchins to punt. Gets off a high towering spiral all the way back to the 15 where it bounces, and the Bulldogs are going to do a nice job with respect to field position after this. Good play defensively a few moments ago by Mosley. Knocking it down. Welcome back, everyone, to Bryant-Denny Stadium. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie. It's the SEC on ESPN. Alabama with the football, 1st down and 10. They lead 6-3. Battle between a couple of 7-2 teams. Nick Saban saying that he wants to see how his team responds against Mississippi State. Not that well on that play. As Ingram hit admittedly, sorry Bob, by Fletcher Cox.
You see what Alabama, you know, they lost 2 games on the road because they couldn't run the football. You know, they had 36 yards at South Carolina, 102 at LSU. One thing people don't realize, there is a lot of communication in the run game. A lot of communication, much more than the pass game. When you play on the road in those atmospheres like Columbia and Baton Rouge, that's part of the problem. You play here at home, this is an intelligent crowd. They're quiet when Alabama has the ball, but that communication up front.
2nd and 14, nowhere to go for Mark Ingram. And we're going to communicate with Wendy back in the studio. Wendy?
Mark, thank you very much. South Carolina at Florida. The winner wins the SEC East. South Carolina has never wanted to swamp Marcus Lattimore from 7 yards out after Florida ran back the opening kickoff over on ESPN. It's 9-7, and Auburn wins. The winner of the SEC East will play Auburn for the SEC Championship.
Oh boy, Auburn really rolled again today. Cam Newton, just another day for him. 11-0 so far.
I expect Mississippi State to drop about 8 guys in coverage here. I would think McElroy, the clock running down.
They're going to take a break, and we're going to take them right along with us. Timeout on the field. Manny Diaz, the defensive coordinator, dialing up the next one.
ESPN's College Football Primetime. Brought to you by Dr. Pepper. There's nothing like a pepper. And Bridgestone. For drivers who want to get the most out of their cars, it's Bridgestone or nothing.
Look at the internationally known and world famous barbecue joint Dreamland right here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Under the lights here at Bryant-Denny Stadium. 6-3. Just underway here in the second period. Alabama with the football. Looking at 3rd down and long. 15 to go. McElroy overthrows his receiver at midfield, number 82, Earl Alexander. Hey, Bob, what do you make of this play? I mean,
well, what I
caught or not
is just what you said. I mean, McElroy had Alexander up the seam. And, you know, McElroy's a guy. He has a lot of ability. He's a great kid. I mean, he's up for a Rhodes Scholarship. He tries to be perfect. And you can see this football team and McElroy right now, the weight of their world on their shoulders. With all the expectations, the 2 losses, playing tight right now.
Interesting. Here's the punt. Fielded by Bumpus. And brought down at the 47-yard line, but still good field position for Mississippi State. So, hey, Alabama facing a team that's had a bye week, albeit a very tumultuous one. What do you make of the way they've responded against this team that's won 6 straight?
I think if you're Alabama, you know, Mississippi State right now is winning this field position battle a little bit. But if you look at Alabama, 2-2 the last 4 weeks. You know, 5 teams, I think, straight now with open dates coming into this football game. But I go back to the expectations. You look at the pressure on these kids on the sidelines. You feel the pressure around the office yesterday. With those expectations.
Ralph with a nice move, but there's a flag down on the play in the vicinity of holding. It all circles back to the expectations. Huh?
Yeah, I think what it does, you look at what Nick Saban said this week. Because they are so record-oriented, it's all about the results. Are we as good as last year's team?
On the offense, number 67. The penalty is 10 yards from the previous spot. Repeat, first down.
He had an interesting point, Bob, along that vein, saying that sometimes you get caught up more in the results than the process. And he's trying to get his team recalibrated to think more about the process and the steps towards winning as opposed to just winning.
That's exactly right. I mean, you're just too result-oriented, which sounds funny to people, but it's about each guy just individually taking care of his technique and getting better.
Here's Ralph. Reads the pass to Evans, and Evans brought down almost immediately, no gain. So how many of these 100,000 fans don't want to hear about this? We're only result-oriented. They don't want to hear about process, I'm thinking, right?
That's the great part about coaching here, and that's also the curse of coaching here. But if there's anybody that can handle it, it's the guy that's the head coach here right now, Nick Saban. He can handle all of the expectations. He's been through this a bunch of times.
Completes it to Evans. Great move by Evans and a good burst down to the 42-yard line. A heavenly play and a gain of 14.
Really creative. You see again, Dan Mullen, great job of low-risk plays. That's why they don't turn that football over, and that's why they've won. But being creative enough to get the ball to some skilled players to set up a manageable 3rd down right here.
6 to go. Bumpus in motion. Ralph might have had it tipped at the line of scrimmage for the 2nd time tonight. That brings up a punting situation.
Yeah, that ball batted by Luther Davis that time. You know, it's hard to say. I mean, he holds the ball up pretty high in his release. But that is the 2nd batted pass. You know, with that awareness or lack of awareness, a big part of it's finding windows in which to throw the football. You know, it doesn't always work out like it's drawn up. You got to find some holes in that coverage right there.
Heath Hutchins shanks one off the side of his foot. This is going to go out of bounds right around the 25-yard line. First and 10, Alabama coming back the other way with just 2 races left in the tightest championship battle in Chase history. Denny Hamlin looks to derail Jimmy Johnson's dynasty. The chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup continues with the Cobalt Tools 500 at Phoenix Sunday at 3 Eastern on ESPN. So how did Coach Mullen deal with punters when you were with him, Bob?
He's chewing on them pretty good. Hutchins, though, you know, he's averaged about 41 yards a punt. But that time, I mean, field position, such a critical element for Mississippi State because they're not going to score a lot of points. You know, they're not real explosive.
Just a 17-yard punt that time. From the 25, Alabama, first and 10. McElroy completes it. Darius Hanks with a first down for Alabama, picks up about 11 on the play.
Talk about what the Battle of Highway 82. About 84 miles, I think it is, that separates these two teams. I mean, Mississippi State, they stayed in the hotel last night that they stay for home games. They treated it just like a home game. So
nowhere to go this time for Mark Ingram. It's about an hour-and-a-half drive.
And I promise you this. It's a much bigger game for Mississippi State's players coming in here at Alabama than it is for Alabama's players. That doesn't mean Alabama's not ready to play this game, but anytime you're the big target, that's another part. Because you know what? You come into a great stadium like this, it motivates that visitor too now.
Hey, Bob, that Mississippi State band, they must feel like they're in Starkville still where their seats are up there. Second and 11. Ingram still trying to get untracked offensively, as is the rest of this Crimson Tide offense. So McElroy says, let me do it myself. First down run up to the 50-yard line. A gain of 15.
That's something about McElroy. He doesn't throw interceptions. I mean, he is a guy, he will not turn the football over, almost to a fault. You know, he holds on to it sometimes and takes some sacks. I mean, Alabama's given up a lot of sacks, but right there you see he's not going to take a lot of chances with that ball.
This time looking over the middle and completes it to the 45. So you would think that somebody that is one interview away perhaps from landing a Rhodes Scholarship, which he had next Saturday, you assume he's going to make some pretty good decisions, right?
Graduating 3 years from Alabama with a 3.82. He's got a 4.0 in grad school. Smart guy. Smart guy.
McElroy completes another one. This time to Marquise Mays. Still in bounds. Simply amazing.
Textbook example, Corey Broomfield of not wrapping your arms on Marquise Mays.
An incredible run after the catch by Mays for his second touchdown of the season.
Great effort by Mays, but very poor tackling by Corey Broomfield, the corner.
For McElroy, that was his 14th touchdown pass of the season. And it was some moving and shaking by Marquise Mays for the score. Welcome back, everyone. You're watching the SEC on ESPN, and if you're Marquise Mays, sometimes you feel like you're just spinning your wheels. He was on the sidelines, but not on the field with that nice touchdown catch and run a few moments ago. Alabama with the lead now, 13-3. Mays with 5 catches already tonight for 86 yards with that touchdown.
Alabama throwing the football, 15 passes, 13 runs. I think the reason Mississippi State, such a blitzing defense. Sometimes it's a lot easier to figure it out if you just worry about the back end. Tough to run the ball against all those different blitzes by Mississippi State.
Here's Perkins. Does a nice job of staying on his feet and brought down to the 25, but there's also a flag down on the field. Alabama's won 18 consecutive games here at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
They've given up one touchdown all year in this stadium.
During the return, holding number 51, the kick receiving team. The penalty is 10 yards. From the spot of the foul, first down.
Bob, what happened on the sideline?
I've seen this happen all through my coaching career. When we freeze this, watch right here. Broomfield thinks he is close enough to the sideline that all he has to do, Mark, is knock him out of bounds so he never wraps his arm. Look how close he's going to be to the sideline. What you think about is, I'm going to knock him out. He doesn't wrap his arms and gives up the touchdown.
It cost them. Vic Ballard, meanwhile, on the run for Mississippi State, gets about 5 running between the tackles.
And here's just what happens, Mark. He splits them, cuts it back inside, and scores the touchdown. You think your sideline's the friend on defense, but you still have to tackle. Don't count on just knocking him out of bounds.
They lined up Chad Bumpus out of the Wildcat that time, and Vic Ballard gets the carry for a couple of yards. Let's go back to Wendy in the studio.
Mark, thank you very much. A look at what's going on around our family of networks. On ABC, even Mac Brown not immune to the dreaded down season. Oklahoma State and Texas. And on ESPN, the SEC on the line with South Carolina and Florida.
All right, Wendy, back here. 3rd and 2. Ralph keeps it himself and gets enough for the first down. About 3 yards at the 23-yard line. Lester making the stop on the play for Alabama.
The NCAA play of the year. I call it the quarterback wrap. Fake the sweep. Quarterback follows the guard or tackle up into that hole. The play of the year in college football. And the next time Alabama sees it, it'll be about a 250-pound quarterback running that when Auburn comes in here.
It might look a little different. 3 on the play clock. Ralph with a nice gain. Got about 4 on the play.
I tell you, what has football come to? Huh? Just snap it to the quarterback, and the quarterback takes off and runs. You have to love it. I mean, it's low-risk football. You put a big athlete at quarterback. It is literally just like it was, I don't know how many years ago. That's what it's become.
What's old is new again, and what's new is old.
Yeah. You know what? There's something to it. That's why I keep wearing these same clothes.
2nd and 6. Who'd want to be a defensive coordinator? This is Perkins on the run. And Perkins picks up about 3 on the play. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie here at Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Nick Saban's team leading 13-3, trying to improve to 8-2 on the season and build a little bit of momentum towards the end of the season. They've got 3 more games remaining, the big one next week against Auburn. Mississippi State in the middle of a 6-game winning streak. It has been a great season for the Bulldogs. This would be a real signature win if they could pull this off tonight. We have a timeout down in the field.
Looks like Alabama, 12 guys on the field there. He's got some complicated defenses, but that one, that was a little too complicated.
Guess that's how you defend the play of the year in college football. Back with more right after this. Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and Bryant-Denny Stadium aglow at night here on a beautiful mid-November evening. They always remember November, Bob. That's what you tell me, right? They remember what happens at this time of the year in college football. And if Mississippi State could pull off a victory here at Bryant-Denny Stadium and snap Alabama's 18-game home winning streak, it would just already add to a glowing resume that they've mastered and put together so far this year. 3rd and 3. Ralph completes it to Heavens, and a first down for Mississippi State. A pickup of 7 on the play.
And that goes back, Mark, again. Dan Mullen made a great point. Just do what Chris Ralph can do. He doesn't care what defense they're in. As far as coverage, sprint out, one receiver route. Great job of picking up some key 3rd downs right here. Brandon Heavens again, 3rd down conversion.
Flag thrown on the play. But Bob, we were talking about it a little bit during the break. What happens if this style of offense falls too far behind?
Yeah, that's exactly
snap,
right.
Ball start. Offense number 55.
It's pretty
5-yard
obvious
penalty.
watching Mississippi State what their game is. Don't put your defense in a bad position. Run the ball. They are not explosive. They have so many young receivers on this team. So 13-3, they're okay right now. 10-point game. But they don't have enough explosiveness to come back from too big of a deficit.
Ralph hands it off. That's Elliott, number 2 on the 2 deep. Yeah, you look at the receivers, Bob, to underscore your point. You really say they are young. You're talking about Smith and Williams, a sophomore and redshirt freshman, respectively. Bumpus, a sophomore who's in right now in the Wildcat formation, usually a receiver. He too a sophomore. Heavens also a sophomore. This is Bumpus. Alabama's defense doing a nice job right there. Menzie making the tackle on Bumpus. No gain on the play.
Menzie didn't play last week against LSU with a groin injury. Junior college transfer. Not a lot of junior college transfers on this team. He looks like he's got a shoulder right there coming out of the game.
3rd and long coming up. Not an ideal situation for this style of offense. A little pressure coming. Ralph just gets it off. Actually threw a nice ball, but it was juggled and out of bounds by Brandon Henderson. And it's 4th down now for the Bulldogs.
And you can see some teams, Oregon, maybe Auburn, if they have a false start on 1st down and it's first and 15, it may not be that significant. But if Mississippi State has a 1st down penalty and it's 1st and 15, it's very difficult for them to convert.
That brings in Heath Hutchins again for his 3rd punt of the night. Perched at his own 20-yard line. Marquise Mays back at his own 20 for Alabama. With the wind at his back. Nice punt down to the 20. Here's Mays. Mays with some big intentions. The punter to beat. Amazing again. Touchdown. But there's a flag down on the play. An 81-yard punt return for a touchdown. Maybe.
During the return, number 91, the receiving team blocking the back. The penalty is 10 yards. Part of the foul. First down.
Alex Watkins, the linebacker. A lot of people feel bad in this stadium, but how about Marquise Mays? That was a tremendous effort by that young man. I mean, he was a tailback, quarterback, wide receiver in high school. Middle of your screen, you're going to see this right there. Right there, if we freeze that, that's a good call. But what a great effort right there. I mean, tremendous move. And now he finds another gear. But that block in the back did allow him to get to that 2nd level. Excellent job again by the Southeastern Conference officials, but I feel bad for that young man. That was a tremendous effort.
He's gassed. Pushes the ball back to the 22. McElroy completes the pass to Ingram, and Ingram is on the move. Mark Ingram bringing it home. Touchdown, Alabama. No flag on the play.
And Julio Jones got the block for his buddy, Mark Ingram. Mom says, thanks, Julio. Watch this. Julio Jones on the wide receiver screen. Only Mark Ingram's the wide receiver. He told us yesterday, I said, you ran a 10.6 in high school. He said, Coach, I ran 10.5.
10.5. He quick to you.
Hey, Mark, he's faster than I thought he was.
And he was nicked up a little bit earlier in the game. We saw him limp into the pile at one point. Certainly he's healed and better right now. Using that 10.5 100-meter speed, a career-long run, and a nice block from Julio Jones to help him out.
I respect guys that do what they're expected to do and do the extra. And Julio Jones, with screws in his hand, plate in his hand, he blocks.
And number 22 is Manny Diaz's worst nightmare as a defensive coordinator.
When you have weapons, you find different ways to get them the football. Mark Ingram, not a lot of success running the ball tonight. Just a little bubble screen. You use big Julio Jones as the blocker. And right here you see the speed. Mark Ingram's eyes had to light up when he saw that green grass ahead of him. But good design. And Marquise May says, you know what? That was my touchdown. That was my touchdown, but I'll go ahead and give it to Mark Ingram.
Well, Bob, right now you'd have to say that after that big play, the pall that has been here because of the quote-unquote disappointing season 7-2 has been lifted a little bit. Perkins on the return from the 3. Brought down at the 23. Let's go back to Wendy in the studio.
Mark, thank you. Coming up on the Outback Steakhouse halftime report, despite the distractions, Cam Newton has done it again. Florida and South Carolina battle it out for the SEC East title, and what? Oregon fails to score in the first quarter. We'll have highlights from Oregon and Cal. What's a Duck to do? Mark, back to you.
You know, I must have audio problems because I thought Wendy said Oregon didn't score in the first quarter.
That's why they play 4 quarters, right?
Ralph keeps himself on the option and is brought down at the 26-yard line by Marcel Darius. Bob, about 2 minutes to go now. 2 minutes to go in the first half. Your thoughts on Nick Saban thought that his team was still trying to carve an identity for itself. What have they said about themselves so far?
I think some big plays. A little surprised at Mississippi State not tackling as well as I thought they would defensively, because Mississippi State comes in 9th in the country in scoring defense. Alabama's breaking out. They're going to start having some fun right now, but big plays, I think, by Alabama have been the difference in this game.
Handoff by Ralph to Perkins again. A 5-yard gain on the play, and Alabama, remember, started off with that hurry-up offense. Might have caught Mississippi State by surprise a little bit.
But then you felt that Mississippi State kind of had Alabama right where you wanted them a little bit ago, and then a couple big plays later, you know, that 20-3 deficit is significant, particularly, as we mentioned, because of the style of play of Mississippi State. And it looks like Dan Mullen right now just wants to settle this football team down. No more damage inflicted.
Perkins on that last carry, and here's Perkins again, brought down after a gain of about 3 on the play. What about Mississippi State, Bob? We talked about them potentially falling behind by a lot. How do they come back now? 20-3 could sound or feel like more than 20-3 for this style of offense,
yeah,
right?
I mean, you see the hesitation Dan Mullen has right here, Mark, at the end of the first half. You know, you would think Mississippi State with 2 timeouts would be throwing that football all over the field.
3rd and 1. They hand it off, and some tough sledding. It's going to be close. Ballard battled, and depending on the spot, it looks like they gave him a very favorable spot. And by the approximation of our line there, enough apparently for the first down with 21 seconds to go here in the first half.
We mentioned Mississippi State has followed a simple plan to be 7-2, but all of a sudden that plan's going to have to change, Mark. Down 20-3.
Ralph Part of the plan. Thought about throwing, but didn't have enough time. Sacked back at the 39. And that's going to be the end of the first half of play. Mississippi State on a 6-game winning streak. That streak in trouble right now. Alabama leading 20-3. We're at the half right now. Let's go back to the studio and Wendy Nix for the Outback Steakhouse halftime report. City of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, aglow at night, and welcome back to the SEC on ESPN. The Crimson Tide leading 20-3 in this battle of 7-2 teams. But the question begs, are all 7-2s made the same? We took it to the streets to find out.
It's a dream season for us, really.
Oh, it feels good right now to be a Bulldog.
But right now, I think we're in the thick of things.
State's on the uprise, Bama's on the downfall. The Tide's going to get stopped today. Go Dogs!
It's kind of what we would perceive as a down year, but really it's pretty much where I expected us to be.
7-2 is pretty good right now. You know, 3 years ago, we'd have loved the 7-2. So
Yeah, we're disappointed, of course. We would hope they would be undefeated.
Beat Auburn, that's all that matters. Beating Auburn in a major way.
In a major way, Bob Davie.
He put a period on
He
that.
did. He's looking ahead to 2 weeks from now, but they got to take care of business right now against Mississippi State. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie chopping it up. Bob, when you look at Alabama 7-2, Nick Saban, their head coach, was wondering about what my team's competitive spirit is going to be like. What do you think it's been like tonight?
Yeah, I don't think I ever worried about that, you know, because I looked pretty closely at the 2 games they lost. When they lost in Columbia, you think back to Alshon Jeffrey, the wide receiver from South Carolina, put on a show. You go back to last week against LSU, 4th and 1, they run to reverse LSU. They fake a punt. They had 2 big 3rd down conversions. Bottom line, what I'm trying to say, LSU played their tail off last week. This is a very good, young, but a very, very good Alabama team.
Alabama getting everybody's best shot from week to week. With Mississippi State, that's won 6 straight games coming into this one tonight. And the Bulldogs will start the ball with the ball here in the second half as Perkins takes the knee. It'll come out to the 20-yard line. There have been some big explosive plays tonight, mostly by Alabama.
Well, back-to-back passes by McElroy, 45-yard touchdown to Mays and a 78-yard touchdown to Ingram. That's the last 2 balls he's thrown.
Ingram with that nice long one on the block from Julio Jones to set it up. 1st and 10 for quarterback Chris Relf. Ballard and Perkins in the backfield beside him. Little option ball. Nowhere to go for Ballard. Brought down right at the line of scrimmage by Mark Barron. Barron's done a great job of leading in that secondary for Alabama, that young defense that lost 9 starters from a season ago.
Yeah, and if you're going to play Mississippi State, there's no 2 deep safeties. One of those safeties is going to be up in what amounts to a 4-4 defense. And Barron is the guy on the weak side that's made a lot of plays tonight.
To the 24-yard line, it's Vic Ballard. It's about 3. There's a look at Barron.
And they are so young in the secondary. You know, last week that 79-yard touchdown pass, that was a busted coverage against LSU. The 3rd and 13 was a busted coverage. They are really, really young.
3rd and 7. Well, fires complete out to the 33-yard line. Bob, we talked about this Mississippi State offense being a low-risk offense. Do they pretty much have to open it up right now in the 3rd quarter to start it off?
Yeah, Mark, I mean, they're down 20-3, and that's the dilemma. You know, by opening it up, you risk the things that got you here. The lack of turnovers, the lack of mistakes. But they're going to have to throw the ball better to win this game.
Ballard on the move, and Ballard out to the 38-yard line. Gain of 5 on the play. 5'11", 215-pound junior.
You know, you have to give Dan Mullen a lot of credit. He wants to throw the ball. I mean, it's in his nature to throw the football a lot. He's doing what he has to do to win right now with his personnel.
Only his second year at the helm at Mississippi State. The handoff to Ballard again. Last year, this Mississippi State team won 5 games. This year, they've already won 7.
Yeah, a lot of great second-year coaches. His buddy Chip Kelly, also from Manchester, New Hampshire, but there's some other guys as well. You look at Gene Chizik, that may be the second-year coach of the year right now. Then Brady Hoke, San Diego State, they're giving TCU all they want. Doug Marrone at Syracuse.
Now, athletic directors are going to want a 2-year plan instead of a 5-year plan.
No, you know what they want to do? They want to go to New Hampshire. We're going to raid New Hampshire now for the great coaching prospects in this country.
1st and 10. They'll go to the cradle. Here's Ralph under duress and sacked. Back at the 38-yard line. Good heat coming from the backside for number 41, Courtney Upshaw.
Courtney Upshaw, really an outside linebacker in Alabama's 3-4 scheme. So much nickel tonight. He's really playing as a defensive end this entire football game. That's why outside linebackers getting ready for the NFL, they're hard to find because it's all nickel now in college football with all these spread offenses.
There's the handoff again out to the 41-yard line. Vic Ballard. It'll be 3rd and long coming up from Mississippi State on this, the first possession of the second half for the Bulldogs, trying to keep that 6-game winning streak alive. And Mullen's team already with significant wins this year against Georgia and Florida, longtime foes that they had long losing streaks against. Sacked back at the 32. Damon Square. And that's the 4th sack of the night for the Crimson Tide defensively.
Yeah, Damian Square lined up on the freshman, Gabe Jackson. It's a learning experience right there for that young quarterback. Great start to the second half by Alabama's defense.
Well, there are Alabama Crimson Tide football fans domestically and all over the world. If you travel enough, you'll find some Crimson Tide gear in a lot of different places. There's Mays on the punt return. Boy, he keeps you on your toes if you're covering punts. Out to the 44-yard line. A 47-yard punt and 23 yards on the return. And folks, we're pleased to be watched by the brave men and women of the armed forces currently overseas. There's the scene from Bagram, Afghanistan. Task Force Sabre 401 first. And they know their Alabama football. They got their gear on.
That's great. That is great. Those guys sitting there watching Saturday night football. That guy's locked in right there. Got his Alabama broadcast probably going in his ear. Isn't that great, though? Sitting in Afghanistan, watching Julio Jones.
Julio Jones
take
still on
it
his
to the
feet.
house.
Touchdown. With a broken arm, implanted with many screws in that arm, Julio Jones on a touchdown run.
Jim McElroy, offensive coordinator. Now it's the speed sweep with Julio Jones carrying the football. We've seen him block. We've seen him on the speed sweep. How about those guys in Afghanistan right now? Is there some high fives going on?
How about it? We'll show it to you in just a bit here. It's now 27-3 from Pascagoula, Mississippi, from Tuscaloosa all the way to Bagram, Afghanistan. Julio Jones with his special salute to the men and women in the armed forces on Veterans Week. How do you like it over there in Afghanistan? Holler if you hear us. Let's take a look at our drive recap brought to you by Chick-fil-A. And it was a pretty short, impressive drive. Julio Jones with his first rushing touchdown this season and of his career.
But Alabama, last 3 plays on offense, 56, 78, and 45 yards. Julio Jones, Alabama, an unbalanced line. Everybody over here just handed off on the speed sweep. Missed tackle again by Broomfield right there. What you notice about Alabama, those guys that touch the ball are really, really fast.
Ingram, Mays, Jones.
And Trent Richardson not playing. And you talk about Julio Jones and Ingram, they're big and physical.
He's going to bring it out of the end zone. He could have taken a knee. Michael Carr, maybe thought because he fumbled it. I'm not sure what he was thinking there.
Yeah, Mark, they're rattled. I mean, this is a rattled football team. Poor communication right there. Just stay in the end zone.
Boy, they're going to start off at their own 7-yard line now, down 27-3. And Dan Mullen, the head coach of Mississippi State, letting Mitchell know exactly what the deal is.
Michael Carr, I believe, just a true freshman back there. Highly recruited guy, but this is a whole different deal right here.
Now the defense is really pinning its ears back, but Mississippi State running out to the 17-yard line. It's been a very tumultuous last week and a half for Mississippi State with the Cam Newton investigation. Mississippi State being involved in that. The Auburn quarterback. The death of Nick Bell because of cancer. We chronicled that a little bit earlier. Here's Ballard on the run.
Well, this Mississippi State team, it's all been built on the premise of scoring defense. 17 points a game is all they give up. But when you've given up a 56, 78, and 45-yard score on your last 3 plays, you have no chance. And they've had poor tackling, but also the explosiveness of Alabama's skill guys.
There's Ballard now in the Wildcat. Going to take a direct snap. It's a little counter step. Nice move. Going to be short of the first down by about 3 yards. It'll be 2nd and 3 coming up.
No, not a whole lot different than playing a wishbone team. It really is. You know, a lot of these concepts in this run game, and just like with a wishbone team, when you fall behind, you have nowhere to go. I mean, you're in Wildcat now with your running back at quarterback.
Keeps it again. Actually hands it off this time. Coming around the end, that's Michael Carr.
Michael Carr, very highly recruited guy out of Mississippi. And that's something Dan Mullen has done a great job of. I mean, he wants to stay within a 5-hour radius of that campus. And there's a lot of players in Mississippi.
3rd and 1 coming up for the Bulldogs. Lining up out of the shotgun. Handoff. Boy, it's going to be close. Ballard falling forward. Let's look at the spot. Hey, Bob, with the Wildcat, some of the gimmickry now in offensive football and college football, Nick Saban had an interesting take on how it affects player development for the next level.
Yeah, we got a little bit of the recruiting pitch, too, that he uses when he's recruiting against somebody that's recruiting for the Wildcat. Because he brings up a great point. I mean, he has a lot of NFL ties. What NFL people say, there's a lack of player development right now in college football, preparing them for the pros.
In terms of convention?
Well, because there's so many Wildcat kind of teams that obviously the quarterbacks develop it, but not only that, the receivers, the offensive linemen to a degree, but also on defense. Because you're playing against Wildcat stuff every week. You're not really rushing the passer like you used to. You know, so he brings up a very good point.
It's not like when Hugh Green was playing college football back in the day. We had a chance to meet him, one of your old players at Pittsburgh. Visited with us in the booth before. Looks good still.
Yeah, he's down there on that sideline somewhere watching this football game. But here, Mississippi State punting this football right here, giving it back to Alabama.
6th punt of the night. Hutchins with a low line drive. Mays calls for the fair catch, which is probably very good news for Mississippi State. He has been lethal on punt returns. Well, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we've got Davy Jones-Locker on the other side. Talk a little bit of Cam Newton and the Heisman. Stick around. We'll be back.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by Castrol GTX with superior protection against harmful deposit buildup, and Burger King, who remind you to have it your way.
Welcome back, everyone, to the SEC on ESPN, and a look at one of the most coveted trophies in all of collegiate sports, the Heisman Trophy. And a guy that was in the conversation back in the day, we alluded to him a few moments ago, Hugh Green. What did the cover of that Sports Illustrated say? Was it biggest cat or something like that? And still have that one back at home.
This guy, you know, I was fortunate in 1977. I was a graduate assistant for Jackie Sherrill at Pittsburgh. Jimmy Johnson was the defensive coordinator. Mark, I had him up here in the box in the booth. He revolutionized, in my mind, how defensive players take on blockers.
And there's a defensive interception by Chris White, and Mississippi State gets the ball right back.
And here's a guy I mentioned. He hurt himself on this. Most improved guy in the Southeastern Conference is Chris White. You don't see McIntyre throw many of these. Yeah, Mark, he hurt himself right there.
Well, he gave it up for the team.
But I'm going to tell you, I showed you when he was up here, you know, about how guys take on blocks prior to Hugh Green when he played. Mark, you're the blocker. If you come at me, up until Hugh Green played, most guys threw shivers.
Okay.
Hugh Green was the first guy, as you come at me, to use his helmet and to use his hands taking on blocks. It was all about leverage with Hugh Green. He's revolutionized defensive football in college football for me.
And I was surprised, Bob. You said that he played in like 220 pounds back in the day. To have that kind of strength and explosive.
But what he did, because he could get underneath, he lined up over the offensive tackle most of the time, a 320-pound guy. And that offensive tackle came out to block him. He got underneath him, and he just butted him.
Wow.
And it was incredible. Now everybody plays with hat and hands. But he was one of the first guys taught to him by Jackie Sherrill and Jimmy Johnson. But he had that natural ability to just explode and use his leverage.
Ralph, oh boy, he put it right there, and it was dropped by Clark as we go back to Wendy in the studio.
Mark, thank you. It's a Dr. Pepper SEC update. We know Auburn will be in the SEC championship, but will it be South Carolina or Florida representing the East? Marcus Lattimore struts his way into the end zone, and South Carolina leading 22-7. This game going on over on ESPN. Less than 7 minutes to play in the third quarter.
Wendy, I think you're looking at the Rookie of the Year in the SEC right there, Lattimore. Over the middle, and another drop by Chad Bumpus.
Talk about Lattimore. Let's see how good your memory is. Remember when I came back to the hotel last night, I said I'd watched a lot of tape over at the offices, and I watched South Carolina play against Alabama. What did I say about Lattimore? He was a lot faster than what I thought he was. Marcus Lattimore can run now. He is fast.
There's Ralph. Needs a lot of help from his receivers in terms of not dropping the football. That time he couldn't even get it close. Marcito Clark, the intended receiver, and it's 4th and long coming up for Mississippi State. Yeah, Lattimore's had a great season for the Gamecocks. We saw them on a couple of occasions this year. He was nicked up, and it's nice to see him back on the field being productive for South Carolina. There's a lot of talent in the SEC. That's not the first time anyone's ever said that. And when you look at the front runner for the Heisman this year, he plays in this conference with Auburn. Cam Newton doing an outstanding job once again today, leading his team to victory. And the punt goes into the end zone on a 46-yarder. Well, what do you do with the Heisman? Everyone wants a little bit more information. And this week on Davy Jones' Locker, we dig deep into our treasure chest and talk a little Heisman Trophy. The investigation ongoing right now with Cam Newton. What would you do in terms of voting for the Heisman? Do you vote for him or do you not? That's
first of all, before I get to that, what bothers me the most, and I'm going to talk to you just like a father right now. Okay, you can question me as a football coach. You can question me about my ability as an analyst. But don't ever question me about what kind of role model I am or the values I've taught to my son. And here's where I'm headed with that, Mark.
Here's Ingram out of bounds. Because Cecil Newton has been a major part of the investigation.
Sure. And my point is, if somebody accuses me of doing something like that with my son, of basically selling my son, and I didn't do it, allegedly, I'm going to forget about NCAA protocol. I'm going to forget about everything. I'm going to have the biggest press conference in the country. I'm going to say, you're flat lying. If anybody out there has accused me of that, come forward with the information. Don't say that about me and my son in the kind of way I've raised my son.
Interesting point there. And, of course, Cecil Newton is alleged to have been involved with a potential offer or soliciting an offer from Mississippi State, just allegedly. Of course, parties looking
But my
into
point is, if you didn't do it,
come out and
if
say
it's
it.
me, I'm standing up on every stage. I'm on CNN, ESPN, NBC, ABC. You're lying. I didn't do it. It's that simple if you accuse me of something like that.
Way to put some of this to rest, or at least massage some of the fears of some of the parties involved. Pass to the sidelines and incomplete. So at this point now, you know, I've spoken with a Heisman voter. He said he'd have no problem. And he said it's a good thing that you can vote online late. What would you do with your Heisman vote? You give it to him?
That's tough. That's tough to say, but nothing's been proven. Obviously, you'd hate to not vote, and then it comes out that nothing happened. And I'll say this. If, in fact, he did ask for something at Mississippi State, if that plays out, that doesn't necessarily mean that he did receive something to go to Auburn. Some people want to finish that sentence by saying, well, if he was asking for something at Mississippi State, then he definitely got something to get to Auburn. That's not necessarily the case.
Continues to play out in real time. And a fumble on the field after the hit. And scooped up by Alabama on the play by Darius Hanks. Well, Mark Ingram, a Heisman Trophy winner from last season, told us that he wouldn't have a problem voting for Cam Newton from Auburn at this moment.
Well, Mark, I'll say this too. Cam Newton is without a doubt the biggest story in college football this year in a positive way. He's without a doubt the best college football player in the nation. I mean, I am a huge fan. We've had him twice. My only point, if it's my son and I'm having those kind of accusations made against him and made against me, I'm coming out saying, hey, you're flat lying if they're not true.
Punt down to the 22-yard line. 2 weeks from now, that big game looming between Alabama and Auburn. 27-3 when we come back to Tuscaloosa after this. Boy, what a great matchup on Monday Night Football. Michael Vick against Donovan McNabb. Boy, what an ascension Michael Vick has made. On the handoff, this is actually Ralph keeps it himself. This is a real methodical, workman-like, pedestrian type of offense for Mississippi State. And we haven't really seen them throw the ball vertically tonight, Bob, and I'm not sure we can expect to see it, can we?
I think you're exactly right. I mean, that's where the difficulty is. Now, they have a backup quarterback, Tyler Russell, very highly recruited young quarterback.
Ralph with the completion out to the 30-yard line to Chad Bumpus. What about him?
Yeah, I mean, a highly recruited guy. They normally put him in every game. Dan Mullen did that at Florida along with Urban Meyer. They put those young guys in for a series or two. They don't like to do it when they're backed up. But he's a big, strong guy that can throw it. But, Chris Ralph's played pretty good at times. He's played a good football game.
3rd and short, 2 yards to go. Low snap. And Ralph hands it off to Ballard, who has the first down and then some, all the way out near midfield at the 49-yard line. Boy, Chris Relf fielded that like a shortstop. 18-yard gain on the play.
And also, Vic Ballard, you mentioned, I mean, low snap. Great job of getting Ballard the ball. Now he creases him. He makes a great move a little bit farther down the field right now. I'm impressed with Ballard. You mentioned a junior college transfer. Not really highly recruited out of high school. Got a good first year from Mississippi State.
1st and 10. Handoff is to Robert Elliott. And Elliott gains a yard on the play. There's a look at Tyler Russell, the backup quarterback you were talking about a few moments ago. Right now affixed with the headset, though, and clipboard.
Talking to another freshman, Michael Carr.
2nd and 9. Relf sacked back at the 46. Had a lot of time to throw. And a late flag on the play. Damon Square with the sack for Alabama. That's the 5th sack of the night for the Crimson Tide defense. It's going to be a hold against the Bulldogs.
Yeah, you always think in
Holding
terms
on the offense. Number 67, penalties decline. 3rd down.
of only the quarterback all of a sudden, because of the score of the game, when it changes, they have to do something they're not comfortable doing, as in throwing the football. But these offensive linemen, just like in the wishbone, when they have to throw it, those offensive linemen, that's a tough thing to ask.
And Relf missing his receiver. Chad Bumpus over the middle. He was open too. And it's 4th down coming up for Mississippi State. Well, Bob, Mississippi State providing perhaps a little bit of practice for Alabama for that big game coming up in 2 weeks.
I think that's really a good
Cam
point.
Newton.
Very, very similar offenses. Very similar.
How much does it really help if the personnel is that significantly different at that one key spot at quarterback? Cam Newton's a different type of guy from Relf, though.
And Auburn's offense, much more explosive. Much more explosive. But schematically, it gives Alabama an advantage to play this game.
This punt at his back down to the 8-yard line. Marquise Mays. No magic on this punt return. Brought down at the 7-yard line. And Alabama trying to improve to 8-2 on the season after that 47-yard punt. Now let's take a look at the BCS standings, brought to you by Discover. Oregon, Auburn, and TCU still undefeated at 11-0, 1, 2, and 3 in the standings. Boise State, an impressive performance a few nights ago, but we're stuck at number 4.
Still, it's hard for me. I'm a big, I coached in Texas 9 years. I understand TCU. And the talent they have. But how does TCU jump ahead of Boise when the last time I saw in person the Fiesta Bowl last year? Boise State beat TCU. Now, how does TCU jump ahead of them? I mean, based on beating Utah last week, who Utah proved today is really not very good this year.
And then you mentioned TCU or Boise State to some of the people at our hotel in the SEC, in the heart of SEC country. They don't want to hear about the non-automatic qualifying conferences or their teams. I keep hearing them say, can they do it week to week in the SEC? There's Ingram straight ahead as we check in with Wendy in the studio.
Mark, thank you very much. And we'll talk BCS as well. An update from the #1 team in the country, Oregon, on the road at Cal. They failed to score in the first quarter, but here they come. Darren Thomas to Jeff Mail, 15-7, less than 10 minutes to play in the 3rd quarter.
Looks like Cal's wearing Oregon's uniform.
I almost got them mixed up a little bit there.
No, that's a bit of a statement there coming out in those flashy-looking Oregon uniforms for Cal.
2nd down and 3. Toss into the boundary. Ingram with a nice move, running hard. Mark Ingram with some determined and spirited running.
Wow.
Out near the 25, ran right over the top of Whitley on the play.
That's how the Heisman Trophy winner is supposed to run that football. But again, he coughed that football up a little bit late, like he did on that play we thought he was hurt before. Watch at the end, Mark. He's going to run him over. But now watch the ball. The ball, I guess the ground actually caused that.
And he went off the field looking a little bit groggy after the 13-yard run. Eddie Lacy in the ball game in his place. And it's Lacy with a very nice spin move, but brought down at the 30-yard line. A gain of 5. Langston making the stop from the corner for Mississippi State. 2 minutes to go here in the third quarter of play. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davie, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Now let's take a look at what happens on 2nd and 5.
Well, you get Trent Richardson back off that bruised knee. That Auburn game now, that is going to be quite a game. These skill guys from Alabama, not only fast, they're big and physical.
2nd and 5. Lacy, and a first down for Alabama. A 15-yard gain on the play. Let's take a look at our FaceTime profile brought to you by Edward Jones. And it's Mark Ingram. Talked to him a little bit earlier. Looking forward to his mother coming down from Flint, Michigan. Has 3 younger sisters with varying degrees of interest in his football career. One of them a very good volleyball player. And look at that last line now. Renaming a freeway the Mark V. Ingram Freeway in Michigan. That's some juice. Over midfield, Lacy in the ball game, a gain of about 6.
Well, it came down to Michigan State where his dad played. And he told us yesterday his mom wanted him to play for Nick Saban. Nick Saban was actually on the staff as an assistant coach under George Perlis. He knew Nick Saban would make him go to class, and academics were very important.
Shonda Ingram might have made the right decision for her son, or at least had the right input for him. There's Ingram. Another nice gain of 5 yards on the play. Yeah, it came down to Michigan State, he told us. And Iowa was one of the finalists as well to get his services.
You love how he attacks the line of scrimmage. He's going to fall forward now because he will go north and south on you. And he has a great stiff arm. He's a powerful guy.
Missed the first 2 games of the season, but has been so productive since that time. And so many people remember that emotional, riveting speech, that congratulatory speech, the acceptance speech that he gave at the Heisman ceremony last year. Crimson Tide ruling right now as we get ready for the start of the 4th quarter of play. Alabama with an 18-game home winning streak here, dating back to September 2008. Welcome back, everyone, to the SEC on ESPN. Ingram around the right side. Talked about the fact, Bob, that he missed the first 2 games with a bad wheel. Sure not showing any signs of it right now.
Gained 20 pounds since high school, and he is slapped together. You'd love to see him just 100% healthy as Greg McElroy comes out of this football game right here.
A.J. McCarron, new quarterback in the ball game.
Yeah, interesting, McElroy, only 2 passes thrown in the 3rd quarter, 1 interception, 1 incompletion. He played very well in the first half of this football game.
Our first look at McCarron. Hey, not taking much time, putting it up for Julio Jones. And incomplete. There was a little bit of contact, but no flag on the play. Let's throw it back to Wendy in the studio.
Mark, thank you very much. We have a potential upset alert. Stanford trying to improve to 9-1 at Arizona State, but they've got other ideas. Stephen Threet to Kerry Taylor. 13-10, Arizona State with the lead.
Boy, an Arizona State team that has struggled this year, Bob, threatening to upend Stanford. Stanford, one of those teams providing surprises in respective states. TCU in Texas, Central Florida in Florida, and Auburn in the state of Alabama. There's McCarron again. Completes it this time to Hanks. First and goal, Alabama. A.J. McCarron feeling it.
Bring the young freshman in off the bench. Let him throw the football. Great time to get him in because you're up. Great field position to let him throw the ball. I mean, no question where he was going with that football, but just laid it over the hands of Charles Mitchell. Darius Hanks.
A career-long pass of 39 yards from McCarron. Here's Ingram trying to slam it straight ahead, but stopped up short of the end zone.
Boy, Alabama needed this tonight, didn't they?
Yeah.
With a Thursday night game against Georgia State. And then Auburn, they're going to have some momentum. Playing in this stadium, like you said, what, 18 straight wins in this stadium. Trent Richardson, he's basically resting, getting ready the next 2 weeks to play. That is going to be one heck of a football game. Two big-time offenses in that game.
Darren sacked back at the 10-yard line. They heated him up and got the sack. Whitley with the sack on the play.
Whitley ran by that time Ingram. Mark Ingram, the tailback. They brought him on kind of a goal line little blitz right there, almost like an extra point rush.
Whitley's made some big plays for them in the secondary this year. Had a couple of big interceptions in the end zone against Auburn and Kentucky this year.
Just a freshman.
12:15 to go here in the fourth quarter. A.J. McCarron, the new quarterback for Alabama, under heat again. They're trying to line him up. He escapes. And it's incomplete. There are about 4 different players that had a chance at catching that. Zach Smith shaken up on the play.
Well, Mississippi State will blitz you now. They give you some different looks. Take a look. I think this is McPhee, the defensive end. They line him up at linebacker. They're going to bring him on a little cross blitz right here. That's a good call. He's a defensive end, all of a sudden standing up as a linebacker. Then you see the speed of K.J. Wright. I'll tell you, Manny Diaz, the young defensive coordinator for Mississippi State, he's a guy like Dan Mullen now that'll think outside the box. He's a creative guy.
Jim McElwain, the offensive coordinator for Alabama, said, what was it? They've got every imaginable blitz known to mankind, was the quote.
And Mark Ingram told us that.
Shelley from 28 yards out knocks it through the uprights. And he's 2 for 2 on the night. Alabama's lead increasing to 27 points. Back with more after this. Welcome back, everyone, to the SEC on ESPN. Alabama in control 30-3 with just under 12 minutes to play here in the fourth quarter. Mississippi State riding a 6-game winning streak, but Nick Saban's team has come out and played some very inspired football tonight. Alabama's had some explosive plays on offense and on special teams tonight. A team whose motivation might be questioned after 2 disappointing losses. 7-2. Pretty much out of the national championship picture. Michael Carr on the kickoff return. Carr brought down at about the 22. Well, if you think Nick Saban has taken his foot off the gas with his team up 27 points, think again. This is McCarron, the backup quarterback, who is getting an earful Nick Saban up in his grill.
Well, what he's focused on all week, getting each guy to play up to the standard of Alabama football. It's not about result-oriented deal. It's not about the scoreboard. It's not about the record. It's about each guy playing up to the standard of Alabama football. Obviously, right there, he did not think McCarron had done that.
Russell Tyler, meanwhile, the new quarterback for Mississippi State, as we check in with Wendy in the studio.
Mark, thank you very much. Oregon on the road at Cal, and it has not been the Ducks' offense we've become accustomed to. Darren Thomas back to pass, strip. Derek Hill recovers. Play was reviewed, but it will stand. Cal went for 2 and failed, 15-13.
Close game there. And, as I mentioned, Tyler Russell in the quarterback. Out of the shotgun. Tries to take off and is brought down at the 25. Well, Chris Berman is your host for ESPN's Sunday NFL Countdown. Tom Jackson, Keyshawn Johnson, Mike Ditka, Chris Carter, Chris Mortensen, Adam Schefter give you all the analysis and news from the NFL leading up to game time. Sunday NFL Countdown presented by IBM on ESPN Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Right now, 3rd down coming up for the Bulldogs. 6 to go.
This is where these defensive linemen, man, they had to practice against all those runs all week. Now they get to rush the pass.
Pass is complete at the 32. That's going to be close to the 1st down. Got about sig. Chris Smith with the catch. And Ralph now watching from the sidelines. Bob, how much different is Tyler Russell from Chris Ralph?
Much different. He's a true drop back passer. And right here, going for it on 4th down.
4th and short. About a foot to go. Hand it off to Elliott, and Elliott gets the 1st down for the Bulldogs. Mississippi State has been dealing with the passing of a teammate, Nick Bell, defensive lineman who passed away last Tuesday. You see the commemorative patches on their jerseys, number 36. Silence prior to the game as Robert Elliott runs it on the play around the left side. A nice moment to commemorate him. There's the patch. A native of Mississippi, pardon me, Alabama. Played at Mississippi State. One of his best friends is Marcel Darius, who plays defense for the Crimson Tide. On 2nd and 9. Pass complete to the fullback, Patrick Hanrahan. Under 10 minutes to go. A gain of 15 on the play. Incomplete. Intended for Brandon Evans. There have been 3 drops here in the 2nd half by Bulldog receivers. Well, with just 2 races left in the Titus Championship battle in Chase history, Denny Hamlin looks to derail Jimmy Johnson's dynasty. The chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup continues with the Cobalt Tools 500 at Phoenix Sunday at 3 Eastern on ESPN. It's out in your part of town, Bob.
Yeah, I'm going to go watch the Arizona Cardinals and Seattle Seahawks. Pete Carroll coming to town tomorrow.
Robert Elliott on the carry.
Robert Elliott, also a very highly recruited player out of Mississippi. A couple years ago, Sylvester Croom recruited him. You know the problems for Dan? So young at wide receiver. Then they lost Leon Berry, their most experienced wide receiver, against Houston. They're just not equipped to throw the football very well right now.
Pass complete. Russell with a strike to Chad Bumpus. Bumpus, the team's leading receiver coming into the game, had 35 catches, 4 touchdowns.
Well, they tackled Dante Hightower, number 30 right there, it looked to me.
Flag down on the play.
On the offense, number 55, 10-yard penalty for the previous spot. Play, third down.
Let's take a look back at our protection spotlight, brought to you by Castrol GTX. It's about the pressure in the sacks.
Probably should have called it bad protection spotlight, huh? Yeah, they're just not equipped. Wide receivers, they're young. Offensive line probably spends about 80% of their time run blocking.
And there's a pass downfield. This one's caught. Russell with a pass complete to Arcito Clark.
That was a great effort by Tyler Russell, stepping up and throwing that football just to get it off.
32-yard gain on the play.
Yeah, take a look at this. Alabama bringing the linebacker. Good concentration right there by the quarterback, just delivering that football.
Back to pass again. Into the end zone.
Oh.
Touchdown. Chad Bumpus with the catch. And Tyler Russell comes in and ignites the offense.
Boy, missed time jump. Robert Lester, the free safety. I thought he was going to intercept that football. But credit to Tyler Russell coming in off the bench with no pressure. By that, I mean the game out of hand. But watch Lester. Oh, just undercut that. Good coverage by Daquan Menzie, expecting that free safety to be there to help him a little bit.
And for Tyler Russell, that was the 5th touchdown pass for him of the season. The extra point good. And it's a 30-10 game. Hey, don't tell Tyler Russell that this game's over. He's not trying to hear that right now. 8:08 to go when we come back to Tuscaloosa.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by GMC, we are professional grade, and John Hancock, the future is yours.
Look at some of the scenes in downtown Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Everybody either near a television watching the game or here in town in the stadium watching the game. And the prevalent brim tonight has houndstooth on it, Bob Davey.
Yeah, and Alabama wearing some new uniforms tonight. These Nike Pro Combat uniforms. They've got little houndstooths all over the numbers. Seriously, kind of a different design. You got to really zoom in there. I saw him down there in pregame.
That's pretty slick. Tribute to, of course, the late Bear Bryant, the legendary coach, who always wore the houndstooth fedora. Ingram from the 3. And Ingram upended at the 23-yard line. We've got the houndstooth in crystal form. Look at that.
Well, when you walk in that Mal Moore football complex here, every week we see great facilities. There's none better than these facilities here at Alabama.
That was a palace.
Hey, I told Nick Saban yesterday, I was in his office. I don't know. He doesn't spend a lot of time. He's mostly in that film room. But that office he has, I think the right word might be palatial. He has a tremendous office. And he has a little deal where he sits behind his desk and he has a button that closes the door automatically. That's how big the office is. So he doesn't have to get up out of the chair and then walk to the door to close it.
Some James Bond stuff. Huh?
Yeah. But you know what the players told us? Was it, I think it was Dante Hightower. Said, man, that's part of the intimidation, though. You know it's for real. When you go in Coach Saban's office, he calls you in, and all of a sudden he hits that power door button. You know you're in trouble.
You're on lock.
The vault closes.
2nd down and 8 coming up.
He has done an unbelievable job, though, hasn't he, here at Alabama?
Sure has. And before that,
at LSU.
LSU won a national championship there, won a national championship here. Handoff goes to Eddie Lacy. You know, with all the news swirling around the SEC, Well, we've said it before. It is a dominant conference. 7 teams in the BCS top 25. Number 1 in conference rankings. The Heisman winner from a year ago and the front runner this year. Look at that sparkling out-of-conference record, 35-5.
And you have, what, the last 4 national champions have come from this league, and you have Auburn sitting there that has that opportunity this year.
Florida and South Carolina battling out to see who's going to be the East Division representative. The pass complete to Jones as we go back to Wendy in the studio.
And Mark, you're absolutely right, as the SEC championship game is set, and we'll see some new faces. South Carolina, there's Stephen Garcia. They win at the Swamp 29-14. They're winning. And Texas, their troubled season continues, trailing Oklahoma State 26-3.
You know, it's interesting. We saw South Carolina early this year, Bob, and the feeling was that this was Steve Spurrier's best shot at winning the East. It came to fruition.
Well, it looked to me like, is that game over? On that highlight, there was 7-something left in the game. I'm not sure. But
well, they're up in front right now anyway, for what it's worth, if they hang on. Yeah. Under 6 minutes to go here. Anything happens. We've seen a lot of strange endings this year. And what about Texas on the flip side? Man, they are really struggling.
That has to
Saw them last week against Kansas State, and 5 interceptions on offense.
Yeah, that is, well, that's if you're an Alabama fan and you worry about 2 losses, there's Texas that played in a national championship game last year. It doesn't just automatically happen now. Now, Alabama with some starters back on offense, but it just doesn't automatically keep going.
Here's Lacey again, trying the left side. Yeah, if Alabama fans are distraught over 2 losses, imagine what Texas fans are feeling right now. They're looking at what, their 6th loss potentially?
Exactly. And just so many problems at Texas. You know, Colt McCoy shows you kind of like Florida. You know, when you lose a Tim Tebow, when you lose a Colt McCoy, that affects everything.
3rd down and 6 coming up for the Crimson Tide. I'm going to guess that A.J. McCarron's not going to throw into any kind of coverage that faced the wrath of head coach Nick Saban.
You're saying he should just head to the other sideline if that happens.
Let's see what he does. Threw it behind his intended receiver, the tight end Michael Williams, incomplete. And 4th down, and he's walking the green mile right now.
Well, I don't think you get on a young guy, and Nick won't, for making a poor throw. It's the mental part of it, and it's the bad decision making. That wasn't a bad decision. He just made a bad throw. The time before, it was for something different.
Bumpus back deep. 17-yard line. That's out of bounds just inside the 25. Alabama's been the picture of explosiveness tonight. Back with more after this. Great menu of games coming up. 21 games over 24 consecutive hours. 21 conferences represented. Men's and women's champs. UConn, Baylor. UConn with the long winning streak. Duke actually getting underway tomorrow at 5 o'clock on ESPNU. Taking on Princeton. That's going to be an interception. Picked off by Robert Lester. And Alabama right back in business.
Well, Lester, that's 7 interceptions, I guess, now in the season. So he made up for that one earlier on the touchdown to Chad Bumpus.
Oh, the receiver fell. Bumpus fell. That's his 2nd one tonight, as you just said.
Yeah, Mississippi State had not turned the football over on offense in the last 4 games. Something like 12-1 turnover margin in the last 4 they've led. And just turned the football over tonight and gave up so many big plays on defense. And I said at the beginning, there was a simple plan Mississippi State followed to win. Run it, don't turn it over. Don't put your defense in bad situations. And they were really good on scoring defense. They did not follow that simple plan.
Bob, they come into this game at 7-2. Alabama also at 7-2. But how now, if you're Dan Mullen, do you take that next step to become the type of 7-2 that Alabama's looking at?
Keep recruiting, baby.
There's some players in Mississippi.
Well, no question. But, you know, bowl eligible for only the second time in 10 years. This football team is going to have a chance to go to a bowl game. I'm impressed with them. I mean, they're a physical football team. You see Dan Mullen right there. I mean, he is not whole different scenario. I mean, Mississippi State coming in here hoping they might win. Alabama coming in here, they have to win. So, I mean, it's two different things. I mean, that shot right there of Dan Mullen on the sidelines compared to what Nick Saban showed a little bit ago against A.G. McCarron, that shows you how coaching at different places, there's different expectations, right? I mean, that said it all right there.
No doubt. Eddie Lacy in the backfield on first down and 10. Aaron hands it off to him, and Lacy with nowhere to go on that left side. Wade Bonner making the stop on the play. Remember, we spoke with the men on the street, figuratively speaking, men and women on the street, and the Bulldog fans were calling it a quote-unquote dream season for them at 7-2. Conversely, Alabama fans considered it a disappointing year. We saw Jay Fowler now with the ball. Nice run by Fowler. Now let's check in with Wendy back in the studio.
Mark, thank you very much. Stanford and Arizona State have gone back and forth all night long. ASU was a 3-point lead, but not any longer thanks to Owen Marisic, who punches it in. Less than 3 minutes to play. Cal misses a relatively easy 29-yard field goal and still trails the #1 team in the country, Oregon Ducks, by 2. About 11 minutes to play in the game.
All right, thanks a lot, Wendy. That game a little bit closer than some people might have thought. Demetrius Good in the backfield. Toss into the boundary. It's Good. And Good stopped up short of the 10-yard line. Folks, we want to take a minute to remind you we're being watched by the brave men and women of the armed forces currently overseas. And joining us tonight is Task Force Sabre, who happened to be in the big Alabama fan group serving in Bagram, Afghanistan. This on Service Week. To all the men and women serving our country, we say a huge thank you. 2.5 minutes to go. Ball at the 11-yard line. Demetrius Good, the lone back. Gets the call and takes it inside the 10. Bob, maybe let's revisit the impact players for tonight. They did have a big impact.
Yeah, that was an easy one right there. I mean, there wasn't any question, particularly with Richardson down with the knee. No question here. Those are easy. I mean, these guys are impact players week in and week out. Chris White had the interception, hurt the knee. Alabama with big explosive plays.
Now the Crimson Tide with another different tailback in the ball. This is Fowler. And Fowler plows ahead to about the 3-yard line. Under a minute and a half to go.
You talk about, again, you look at Auburn. I mean, Gene Chizik, what a job.
Can I ask you who's going to win that game now? Is it time? Can I?
You know, that's a great, great, great game. I'm serious. I mean, Auburn, Alabama in that game, the Iron Bowl, in this stadium. I mean, I'm not going to pick a winner. That will be a fairly high-scoring game. I really believe that. Boy, I'll tell you what, Alabama, the next best thing to doing it yourself is spoiling it for someone else.
It's their season.
You can spoil it for Auburn.
Ball still alive. And it's fumbled loose. looks like Mississippi State recovered.
Let's take a look if we can get Nick Saban on that sidelines. That's going to be a touchback. Come out to the 20. I'd like to see Nick Saban now. We saw a little bit earlier Dan Mullen kind of smiling. He's searching out right now. Look here.
That'll learn him. Fowler, the fumbler here, a trip to Coach Saban's office.
I'm not sure he wasn't down, though, that knee was down.
Welcome back, everyone, to the SEC on ESPN from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It's Mississippi State football after that fumble. First down and 10 from their own 20-yard line. And the Bulldogs about to see their 6-game winning streak go up in smoke. This is Robert Elliott on the run, getting about 2 yards on the play. Mississippi State, though, positioning themselves for a pretty good bowl game, though. What was it, 3 years ago they went to a bowl game with Sylvester Croom for the first time in a while?
That's right. That's right. That might have been a few more than 3 years ago. But, yeah, they played in the Liberty Bowl.
Yep. That'll just about do it. This one is cooked, glazed, and sliced. Alabama's home winning streak now at 19 and counting. This was a game of explosive plays by Alabama that finally broke it open. Our final score once again, 30-10 for the Crimson Tide. Stay here for College Football Scoreboard. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Bob Davey and our entire gang, I'm Mark Jones. Thanks for watching, everybody.